Alright, y'all know the drill. We got a new game coming to us on June 5th, so you know what that means. It's time to take a look at the most trusted tier list in the Etheria Restart community, at least on the EN side of things, right? We're here again at PrideWin.gg taking a look at several different tier lists for Etheria Restart pre-launch, because I think it is very important to get a head start on this. There will be a revamp to this list, hopefully coming before the launch of the game, based on all of the feedback they've been getting from the final beta that I was also in, whaled in, grinded the hell out of for oh man, we went crazy. And even though this list will be getting a revamp, I think it's important to take a look at all these different characters and get a general idea of their value so we know how to navigate the launch going forward. Because I mean, look at how many characters there are. This game hasn't been out for 2 years. It hasn't even been out for 2 days, okay? This game hasn't even launched. It comes out June 5th. So let's go ahead and start. First, if you like this kind of stuff, consider leaving a like and subscribe to the channel. It really does help out. We recently hit 10K, and that's all thanks to you guys. We have 6 different tier lists here, depending on the different mode you could be in. And to be honest, there could be more tier lists because honestly, some of the shell domains could arguably deserve a tier list of their own. But we're going to go ahead and just look at general PvP for a sec. I do want to point out that general PvP quite literally only means that it's basically the main story and little modes like Ember Trek or Ethernet or Rally, little things like that, nothing too crazy. But we will take a look at least some of these characters because some of them are just generally good picks, not bad picks that you could level from the start and not be dissatisfied with who you level up because they can work in a bunch of different modes. But just keep in mind the generic PvP tier list is arguably the one that we don't really need, to be honest, because if you look at the people on the top of the list, you go to any other domain, you'll notice some of them are still here, but a lot of them end up switching out. A bunch of them do. So just keep that in mind, that it's more important the specific domain tier lists rather than the generic tier list. And don't worry, we'll be also going over some PvP as well, because thankfully they do have a PvP tier list here. But taking a quick look at generic here, we're going to go over a few different characters that are just good picks, good value that pretty much will work on your account in multiple different modes, and you shouldn't really be dissatisfied with having leveled them, such as Gray or Chiaki. Both of these characters you get for free at the beginning of the game, and I was still using them at the end of the beta, dog. I'd completed the campaign. I've been winning tournaments and PvP and all that stuff with them. Now, real quick, I want to point out that just because they're SR characters doesn't mean that they're bad. SRs, purple tiers, are essentially like a 4-star, and then SSRs are essentially like a 5-star if you were to compare it to like Honkai Star Rail or something like that, which is definitely competition for this game, 100%. But let's look at Marvel here, another SR character. A lot of people will get the drop for this guy. And he's got a really fast speed stat, so he goes early a lot of the time, and he has crazy crowd control. Like, dude, this guy, if he gets to go first in PvP, your opponent is basically done. Like, it is basically over if they manage to go first, unless your opponent decided to build for really high tankiness. But I'll be honest, he's a little bit overrated just because everybody kept talking about him. Everyone was like, ban. Bro, sometimes all you need to do is have your Chiaki Echo go faster than him, give your entire team an action advance boost, and then literally nuke the entire enemy team, and their Marvel never even gets to go. That does require you to have really good gear to make your Chiaki faster than Marvel, because as you can see, base speed alone, it's not even as fast as this guy. That's one thing that makes him such a menace that people aren't necessarily aware of, is that he's faster than even some of the best supports in the entire game, bro. Oh, 27, by the way, that's faster than Doki Doki too, by the way. Doki Doki, he's faster than her. As you can see, a bro like Marvel is not just good in PvP, duh, he's good in PvE as well. These crowd controllers such as Kraken, who basically, if you don't have Marvel or if you want to counterpick somebody else's crowd control, Kraken is basically like a slightly slower Marvel. They don't have the same kit, but their crowd control capability is like really strong, and I would consider Kraken and Marvel to basically be the best crowd controllers in the game on average. You also have a character like Kazuyo, who's the best Doki Doki crowd controller, for example. Part of that is the element. But dude, she's really strong too, and a lot of people in some of the highest level content that we were able to get to in the beta, she was the key to completing some of the toughest stuff that some of the highest whales were able to do. And yeah, you only notice me covering 4 stars so far right now because I want to emphasize how strong they are, and I don't want y'all to just level SR characters and then get absolutely wrecked by other people that have more awareness to team synergy. Your team synergy and your power level, your capability is far more important than just having a fully stacked SSR team. Like, bro, Sonya is an insane healer, dude. She even has a revive, which can really come in handy in a lot of different modes. Super reliable. Highly suggest you pick up a Sonya. Everyone, I think, should be grabbing that character because she has so much utility and can work in so many different places. The other thing about SR characters is that you just get more of them. That's another reason why it's important to be aware of which ones are good, because you can utilize them more easily and you have more access to them. Like Dinah, I don't know a single soul that didn't get her because she has really good odds on just a bunch of the different banners that you have out there. She's definitely a good pickup. She has really good debuffing. She's very solid, has damage output of her own. And if you go to Threshold Terramaton, this is like the first like gear farm in the game that you get access to, and you get Leanne for free. For example, this fire user on the left here, and then you get Dinah. More than likely, you're just going to pick her up naturally from like just pulling on banners and stuff like that. You pair these two together, you're going to be destroying the Terramaton, okay? You're going to be eating that dude up. And yeah, speaking of which, if we go back to Terramaton here, Leanne, we all get her for free, and she's a really solid character. There's also a quest for her as well that'll give us a ton of rewards. There's a special event in the beta that we should get on launch that lasts a week, and it allows us to reset a character for free, and then you can pay a little bit of crystals to be able to do it more. This is an incredibly powerful tool for the beginning of the game. I highly suggest grinding the ever-loving crap out of your Leanne quest. Completely fill it out. If you want to reset her after that, that's fine, and then you can like level up a new character that you pulled along the way. Maybe Heinrich, maybe Rosa, maybe Messiah, another really strong DPS that could maybe replace your Leanne. You don't really need to replace Leanne because, as you can see, she's really, really strong whenever you need a fire DPS. Or, sorry, I should say Reason DPS. Reason is the red one. All right, now let's talk about Freya real quick, because she's the banner, like the draw for the first banner of the game, right? She's going to be really, really fast, very strong, very good AoE, but a little bit overrated, I think I will say. I pulled Freya at the very, very beginning, and I barely used her the entire beta. Now, if I had used other DPS characters that maybe synergized with her better, I probably would have been using her a lot more. It just so happens that she didn't really fit the roles that I really truly needed. So keep that in mind. A good pickup, but don't be dissatisfied if you end up skipping her, because it's not necessarily a bad move. And don't get it twisted, okay? Basically, every single one of these characters have a game mode that they are good in, giving them basically all some form of value somewhere in the game. Why do you think there are so many different tier lists, bro? And arguably, there could be 3 more tier lists here that they didn't even bother making, because gosh darn, how many tier lists you need in this game? Jesus Christ. Now, since we mentioned supports a second ago, we were talking about Freya. Let's go ahead and talk about another one, Tsukiyomi. Yes, Tsukiyomi. I thought that was kind of cute. But anyway, yeah, she's fast, incredibly strong buffer, very, very good, and you need several different buffers in this game, especially for PvP, because if someone counterpicks you, or if someone uses a pick that you have leveled, you need to have extra copies of other characters available. If someone picks your Gray, you can't use Gray. If someone picks your Chiaki, you can't use Chiaki. If someone uses your Freya, you can't use Freya if they already picked the Freya. You're going to have to switch to a Lily, or a Doki Doki, or a Chiaki, or Beontin. I can't say her name right on the first rip. It's always a goofy one for me. But yeah, you need several different supports leveled in order to be able to deal with PvP, and of course you're going to need some in PvE, but you're not as restricted in PvE. And as far as supports go, I think they did an incredible job here. I don't think they're going to have to do a lot of moving around when they make their revamp, because Beontin, Freya, Lily, Chiaki Echo, Doki Doki, and Tsukiyomi, these are hands down the best supports in the entire game. Hands down. Obviously, they're going to move around in placement depending on what domain you go to, but these are the best ones. If you you need to get like multiple of these if you can, but bro, just getting one of these could be a game changer for your account, and you start the game off with one of them at least for free. Huge. And sustainability, same thing. Did a good job of showing us which characters have more value than others. For example, Chiaki, good character, strong, but is she better than Mia as a Reason sustainability character? No, unfortunately not. Is she better than Dorothy? Obviously, yeah, she's better than Dorothy, but she's just not going to be as good as these other 5 characters here, like Hellkid. Hellkid has attack scaling. He has damage output of his own. You see the hybrid DPS tag here. That's because he dishes out good damage of his own through that attack scaling. He has shields as well. Pretty decent speed too, so he can get out there, give you some sustainability and some damage output, and even some crowd control. Guy's a monster. Ling Lu, very good cleansing, very reliable healing. It's actually kind of annoying to go up against when you're fighting her in PvE. And then buffing, really, really good too. This is a solid character, and we can all get her for free from an in-game event. You just have to play out the event. And I believe it's a permanent event as far as I'm aware, so you don't have to worry. You're all going to get this character. And she's tier 0 in everything except PvP. She's 0.5. Who cares? It's not that big of a deal. And then Terramaton. Why is she not good against Terramaton? It's her elemental weakness. Duh. That's perfectly making sense there. Mia, very good, better than Chiaki for the given role, hence why she is literally just going to be sitting higher on the list. Sonya, very incredible healer. We're not going to go over her. We already went over her. She's amazing. Valerian, she is able to be picked up for free, and as you can see, very solid choice in every single mode, including PvP. That's actually where she's doing better. I don't think she's necessarily better than maybe Sonya or somebody else like Hellkid or maybe even Tiamat, where Tiamat is technically more of a DPS because she has so much damage output, but she has survivability and healing as well. Dude, and taunting, yeah, she's in DPS, but just so you know, a week ago, she was considered a sustainability character by Pridewin. But we all knew that she needed to move over to DPS because she has so much damage output. But just consider the fact that you can use Tiamat too as a sustain technically in this game as well. And Valerian, like I said, everyone can get her because if you pay literally a single $1 in this game, she will be given to you for free. Now, if you're going to stay free to play, I recommend not spending any money at all because it's just... Once you open up the tap, it just keeps on going. You'll end up keep spending, okay? If you have the capability to only spend that $1 and pick her up, go for it. It's not a bad pickup because when you start the game, all you have is Dorothy. It's kind of nice to very quickly pick up a Valerian and give yourself a nice boost. If you didn't get lucky on your pulls, picking up somebody like Sonya, Ling Lu, or Hellkid in the early stages. Don't forget, you'll get Ling Lu for free. Now let's talk about DPS because I know that's more exciting than some of these other roles for people like Messiah. Brother, this guy has a banner on launch, so if you really wanted him, you can pick him up. A lot of people thought it was going to be 2-team reliant when he dropped, and you know what? You do notice there's only 1 team set up for him here, but I think they're going to update that and give him some more. I think that's just kind of like a funny fluke. He does work outside of like his best teams or whatever, and he's really, really good in PvP. I mean, bro, he has a really, really powerful nuke. It's a monster. Whenever you see this guy, you have to think about how strong you think your opponent's Messiah is, and that could actually, believe it or not, dictate who you counter pick and what teammates you end up picking because of a strong DPS like this. If he goes unchecked, he will wreck you, okay? Same with Bjorn, by the way. I love this guy. He was like my main squeeze for PvP. He's an interesting character, something I think everyone needs to be aware of. Bjorn cannot land crit hits at all. It is impossible for him to crit. Some people thought this would be a problem. Nah, read the first part of this, bro. At the start of battle, Bjorn increases max HP by 500% of his self-attack. So you just build insanely high attack on him, say fuck critting, I don't care, and you still deal an insane amount of damage, and based off your HP, you'll have more survivability. But guess what? Each attack also deals additional damage based off of an equal amount to 30% of his max HP, which he's already boosted up. So all you need to do is build high attack and speed, and if you get lucky on substat rolls for HP, cool, but don't focus on that. He needs 2 stats, attack and speed, and you're basically GG's good. I love him. He's a nuker, very, very fun character, and dude, his design is cool. He has these like spirit dogs that roam around with him. I thought he was going to be kind of like a Sunday knockoff from Honkai Star Rail, and I couldn't have been more wrong. Bro is so sick. Now I'm going to stop glazing because I did play him a lot. I did like him. Let's talk about Rosa. This, I think, is a lot of people's like pick that they were really interested in because she's really good in PvE and in PvP as well. I would consider personally, through my experience and other people that I spoke to, that Bjorn is the better like the better blue element DPS for PvP. Personally, that was my experience. He also has a Dispel on his ult, by the way, too. But Rosa is really, really strong, again, in more game modes than Bjorn. So potentially a better value pick depending on what you value more in this game. She's good in literally everything except her weak element domain. Bjorn is good in everything except his weak domain. However, he's not quite as good overall than Rosa. So what he excels in, he really excels in. And with Rosa, same thing, I guess, but she's better in PvE. I think he's better in PvP. That's kind of how they would work. Now let's go over to Leanne. Oh, you already don't need to know about Leanne. Everybody gets her for free. Very strong reason DPS. Very strong red element. Very, very good. She's not the best DPS, but what are you going to do? There's not a lot of reason DPSs in the game, so she's definitely a good pickup. I think they were smart to give everybody her for free because everybody can utilize her. You do not need to reset her after you finish her domain quest. In fact, it's actually not necessary to do so. Most people only do that because they're more interested in leveling somebody else after they maybe got bored of playing her. Now let's go ahead and talk about Lilith. This character is so cool, dude. This character is hella good. She's decent speed, and just her kit just does so much goofy stuff, man. And she can be a real problem. We have here Chloros. Very strong character, kind of a sleeper hit. As far as PvP is concerned, not the strongest, but in PvE, this guy can kind of pop off. I thought this guy was really cool. A lot of people were talking to me about him. I didn't get too much experience with him, sadly, in the beta, but I did like my experience with him. I think this guy is going to be a cool, interesting character for PvE. Not as good in PvP, but it is what it is. You have Sonya, the Dark Sonya here. I'm not gonna lie, I love the horns thing. I got a weird blowjob fantasy going on with this horns thing right now. I'm not gonna lie, and the Dark Sonya really doing something to me, making me think some weird things I probably shouldn't be thinking right now. But DOT, very strong in this game in PvE, and she's the only SSR character that has DOT in the game. You also have characters like Obel, also a very strong DOT character. I'm gonna just use Obel real quick for the example for a DOT. DOT, when the turn starts, takes indirect real true damage equal to 4% of their max HP. As I'm sure you are aware, when you go up against really, really big, high-powered, high defense, high HP bosses, this is incredibly powerful. You land a bunch of DOT stacks on the enemy and they just start to disappear, okay? Build a really tanky team, pop some DOTs on them, and then just watch the sparks fly. Sonya, we'll go ahead and take a look at hers as well. You'll notice it does the exact same thing as Obel, so DOTs seem to work the same way across the board in this game, at least right now. Now, you may have noticed I haven't talked about Tiamat yet, and that's because she's ever so slightly overrated. Not by much, but I would not recommend using your free SSR selector on her. Decent speed for a more sustainability character, but again, she's more of a DPS with sustainability capabilities. She's a little bit slow on startup, but she does have taunting, she has healing, she's really good, she AoEs the enemies to death. If she can get popping off in PvE especially, it's really, really hard to stop her, and she usually just eventually wins. In PvP too, by the way, she's also considered to be very strong. A lot of people have her, and she's rather tanky, and she AoEs again. She could just AoE the entire team down if she gets going. Now, I will say, even though I saw Tiamat across the aisle a couple of different times, I didn't care. I still nuked them with some of these other strong characters. Just because you see a tanky team on the other side doesn't mean you can't like one-shot them before they even have a time to act. Just keep that in mind. But Tiamat is one of the pieces of glue to like a very, very strong tanky PvP team. Put on a Tiamat, put on a Sonya, put on a Hell Kid. You get what I'm saying? Is just those three alone, it's gonna be hard to deal with, okay? And then you put on maybe somebody else with some actual like damage output, maybe somebody that can allow crits for the rest of your team, because Tiamat can crit. So putting on somebody like Gray to give you a crit buff, and then he also has damage output of his own, then she also dishes out damage output of her own. Sonya having the revive, yeah, it can get out of hand. So Tiamat, a little overrated, but there's a reason why, because she's incredibly strong. Okay, where's the little gremlin at? There she is, real mocha. Wait, she's a furry? And a lolly. Jesus, okay, so weird goofball character here. Really strong though. Really good. She's good in PvP. She'll get, I think, no, she'll probably stay where she is. Given who she is up against, I think she's better than Leanne. Not necessarily Lilith or Rahu though. That's kind of a tougher one to gauge. But yeah, I would say that she's very strong. And in Doki Doki, she's literally the best on the list right now. I personally think that Gray needs to be moved up to tier 0 as well, especially considering he has support functionality. You could technically put both of these characters on the same team for this domain, and they would only accentuate each other's capabilities. So I really do think Gray needs to move up on this particular list right here. Gray is incredibly strong. Speaking of Rahu, this dude is literally the definition of random bullshit go. Okay, I did not see a lot of people talking about him in the beta, really. I did see some people, and bro, this dude is kind of like a sleeper hit because he's not been written off, but he's like, just look, he's good in basically everything except for the one weakness type that he has. And he has cleanse, he has follow-up, debuff, buff, wind up. He does the dishes, and after a massage, he'll give you a quickie. Now, we could be here all day literally going over all this stuff, but let's go ahead and try to speed run through some of this because we'll probably cover some of this again in a future tier list video. We have Giada here, who's arguably the hottest character in the entire game, especially for the furries out there. Look at my profile picture. I mean, Foxians can get it, okay? When it comes to me, a Foxian can come right up and just get it from me, okay? That's my weakness, all right? Now, straight up, this character wants supports. She needs support characters on your team. Build up a bunch of support characters and put them on the team around her, and she will absolutely wreck shit, okay? She's very good. Now, Victor, this guy, kind of a little bit of a sleeper, and in the beta, everybody was talking about this dude and how good he is. Okay, let's just use an example. Teramaton, this ain't even his elemental typing advantage, and he is still popping off because he is that boy, okay? Now, let's go ahead and just quickly, Lilith, strong, CC, delay, really, really good. All around her, kind of better in PvP than anything else, I would say, but still has value in all of the other modes, except for, of course, her elemental weakness type. This dude right here, D-Ting, he has the ability to convert crit rate into crit damage. That could be really, really strong if you have the right gear for it. If you don't, he's not going to be as strong. But he's very good in Teramaton and in Union Bosses. I think he's underrated as hell on this tier list personally, but it is what it is. I think the revamp will see him go up. All right, now let's try to get through some of this stuff. We went over Dinah a little bit. Most people should be able to get her. She's really crazy in Teramaton and basically most modes, really. She's really good, very strong SR character. Heinrich, good in literally everything. If you get this guy, level his ass, okay? He's really, really, really strong, all right? Now, Klaus, this is the fastest base stat speed in the entire game. She's even faster than Lily, and a lot of folks will say that Lily is the best character in the entire game, okay? Now, even though she is slightly slower than Klaus, it's really not that big of a deal. I would still definitely say that Lily's better, but Klaus is very, very strong too, and that getting out ahead of anybody else if you have the right stats can be very, very strong. Klaus, really good character. PvP, I think she should be at least tier 0.5 for PvP. Let's see who her competition is. Yeah, I'd give her that. I'd give her 0.5 for sure, 100%. That needs to, I'd make that move for sure. Selins, I didn't play her. I'm not gonna lie, I can't speak on her too much. You're gonna have to ask somebody else about her. She's pretty generically okay, but doesn't really necessarily excel in anything in particular from my experience so far. We went over Kraken and Obel a little bit. Very, very control. These two are very like control type of characters. Very, very fun. Veronica, did not get much experience from her, but from what I spoke about from some friends that did play her, she's, again, very similar to Selins or Sealant. I don't know how to say her name right, but they're very, very, like, generically good, but don't necessarily excel at any one given thing too much. Ketchy the Guard. I think this guy actually performs better than what you would see here on this tier list rating. I think in the revamp, you'll see him go up based on player feedback from the beta. My experience with him was that he's better than what he looks like here, and I think he's a bit underrated, a bit of a sleeper hit. Same thing here with Kazuyo. She's literally the best crowd controller for Doki Doki, and that's the speed stat domain, dude. That's the speed set domain. That's important, okay? And when she's literally the best at something like that, it is hard to place her so low. Now, yeah, that's the main thing she's good in, but she can also be a backup in PvP if you don't have access to a Marvel or a Kraken, either due to counter picking or whatever, or hey, maybe your opponent is a little inexperienced and doesn't think much of Kazuyo and doesn't ban them from you, and then all of a sudden you're basically using her as a pseudo Marvel or a pseudo Kraken and really showing them that they shouldn't have underestimated her. So I think that's the important stuff to cover for this list. Obviously, we'll be back here going over this all over again. If you like Etheria Restart, this kind of stuff in general, consider leaving a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.